International aid is one of the most effective weapons in getting rid of poverty today. Yet that weapon is underused, insufficiently targeted, and in need of reform. Reform of the system is the only fundamental requirement that's needed to meet the MDGs. MDGs are Millennium Development Goals. They have been set at 0.7% of the gross national income of rich countries. Hi, my name is Dr. Anthony Pereira-Costa here from the Alabama University. I'm here to present you with the BBC special on the 2005 United Nations report on aid and human development. Aid is sometimes thought of by rich countries as a one-way act of charity. In a world of interconnected opportunities and threats, aid is a fundamental imperative and a moral one. It's an investment in a shared prosperity and collective security, and failure to invest now will only mean major problems in the future to come.
There has to be enough money aid to provide government capital to invest in healthy education and economic infrastructure. Second, it has to be delivered on a predictable, low transaction cost value for money basis. Aid investment needs country ownership. Recipients of aid must decide how aid will yield optimal results through the open market.
In response to Millennium Goals for aid targets, the Millennium Declaration was signed.
As a result of the deep cuts made to the budget during the 1990s, the Millennium Declaration was signed. After the Millennium Declaration was signed in 2000, aid increased by $11.3 billion over the next 4 years. These increases included multilateral, technical cooperation, debt relief grants, and emergency aid, which then funds have improved and recovered as a result of the Monterey Conference on Financing of Development.
Despite this increase of aid of sub-Saharan Africa, the MGD still fell short 0.7% of the GNI. The gross national income should have increased from 2005 to 2010 due to Africa not able to invest in its own education. If the gap was met, these powerful investments could be made leading to development and an improved economy. Though we acknowledge the importance of the aid, the world of rich countries have not lived up to their commitments.
Some of these rich and powerful countries form the G8, a group of the world's wealthiest and most influential countries.
The G8 committee makes some important commitments. The pledge to increase aid $50 billion over the 2004 levels, with half the increase going to sub-Saharan Africa, could be a key factor in closing the MDG financing gap. It's like the G8 finally got everyone to sign a communique specifying concrete targets, which could be a drastic improvement in preventing backsliding.
Looking ahead, there are three main challenges towards aid. First, the GA leaders must have their words. The Germany and Italian doesn't plan to translate the GA commitment towards the public's expenditure plans. And secondly, some countries need to go further, like the United States, Canadian, and Japan are still the underperformers. Thirdly, it's important that a civil share of the increased aid. The commitment will be delivered upfront, but not in 5 years. Meanwhile, the GA communities will receive mixed marks. On the other hand, the general commitment on agricultural subsidies will not benefit the African farmers. Political leadership and political movement are needed for the success of donor leadership.
On a positive note, the USA is the largest aid donor. However, donors are famous for not living up to their commitments. Per capita income here has risen, though aid money has fallen. The winners of the globalization haven't prioritized the losers, even though more aid would mean a benefit for both.
The underfinancing of aid and collective security have become major problems in the world today. Fighting for security means fighting for human security. But for every dollar of aid, $10 is spent on the military. And the increase in military spending since 2000 alone is enough to meet the MDG of 0.7% of GNI for aid. Looking beyond military security means looking at human security and ending threats like HIV/AIDS. But questions are raised as to whether or not these MDGs are affordable for countries to pay to meet these kinds of human security needs.
What is affordable to pay in aid is only a matter of how much a country is willing to allocate to aid, shaped by political priorities. The annual $7 billion needed over the next decade to provide 2.6 billion people with access to clean water is less than Europeans spend on perfume and less than Americans spend on elective corrective surgery. This for an investment that would save an estimated 4,000 lives every day.
Donors know the importance of aid quality. In March 2005, the Paris Declaration on Aid Effectiveness set out principles to improve aid effectiveness and monitoring progress. Less tied aid and more country ownership, coordination is improving. However, the delivery of aid still falls short of the pledges, destroying any attempt at poverty reduction. The national ownership has been weakened and aid flows have been disrupted.
One problem with the Thai aid is linking development assistance to the service and the supplies provided by the donor countries. This prevents the recipients from using the open market and reduce the value of money.
Aid recipients are required to follow rules set out by the Monterey Conference. These rules require the countries to meet certain targets set by the International Monetary Fund. This is a problem because these conditions set out by the donors can be raised by the donors to reduce the value of aid. Meanwhile, the donors don't even have to meet the targets that are set for themselves.
To add on to all this, donors are followed to break commitments that they have made, while recipients are not. This has become a one-sided system that needs to be revised into one, where both donor and recipient act on commitments that follow through with the promise made in Millennium Declaration.
In order for these circumstances to be followed through, there are some key requirements.
Setting a schedule for achieving the aid to the GNI ratio of 0.7% by 2015 and keep to it.
Dealing with debt. The G8 summit in 2005 was a breakthrough for heavily indebted poor countries, but they are still facing problems of acute service obligations.
Provide predictable multi-year financial through government programs. According to the Paris Declaration, donors should set more ambitious targets and work with national system. This means that aid should be given on agreed schedule.
Reshape aid conditionality by focusing on donor responsibility. Also, report through national systems while building institutions and national capacity rather than emphasizing economic targets.
Add the giving of aid in form of tied aid, and therefore the waste of money that it causes.
Well, as you can see, the foreign aid system needs reform. Wealthy countries need to reevaluate how, when, and in using what methods aid is to be dispersed. Allora, ci vediamo. Ciao ciao, Bella. They must live up to their pledges, while allowing recipient countries ownership over the funds that have been given to them. Modification of these structures will be the key to meeting the MDGs for the next millennium. This has been a BBC report on the UN Report for Human Aid and Development. Goodbye.